Okay, why am I like this? What's his face? James. For today's book recommendation, I am gonna go with... Hello everybody, and welcome to this brand new video. It is May 1st. It is the German Labor Day. I don't have to be anywhere today. It's not like I have to be anywhere either way because I don't have school right now. It is May 1st, which means it's time for our April book wrap-up. All the books I read in April, whatever we want to call it. It's generally just me talking about a bunch of books. My whole face is itching. Why is my face itching? We don't know. I'm gonna just run down a few numbers for you. Just one number, actually. I read 22 books in April. Now, that is a lot of books. April has 30 days. So 30 days and 22 books, that sounds ambitious. But it was very fun reading all of these books. I had a good time with most of these, and I had a horrible time with some of these. So I'm just gonna go straight into all of these books with you, and yeah, just grab some water, grab some tea, and let's have a good time. Okay, so we're gonna do something a little different this time. So usually I just go into all of the books and start by the ones that I didn't like at all, and then slowly evolve to the best ones. But this time, since there's so many, we're gonna do it by genre. So we're gonna do the fantasy books first, and then gonna go into some we're gonna go to some genres where I just read one book out of them, which is like a thriller and stuff. And then we're gonna go to my romance books, because I read a lot of romance this month. So yeah, let's jump into this. The first book that I'm gonna show you is a reread. It is a book that I've talked on and on about. It is one of my favorite books of all times. It is The Priory of the Orange Tree. Now, please don't be intimidated by this monstrosity. The book is thick. I know that. There is a lot of stuff going on. There are 4 different plot lines that somehow mingle up together, and it is a lot to get through, and I know that. And since I read it the second time, I understood a lot more, but it's still one of my favorite books. And I wanted to reread this because A Day of Fallen Night just came out a month ago, and I really wanted to reread this one before starting the other one because I wanted to know everything. And I know the other one is a prequel, but either way, I reread this and I loved it just as much as I did before. I don't even know where to put the books, honestly. I'm surrounded by piles of books. 22 books is much more than you would think it is. Okay, we're moving on to the second fantasy book, which is The Blood Casino by Nina Walker. Now, this book, I've never heard anybody talk about this book or this series. I understand it, sort of, because this wasn't my favorite. So I rated this a 2.5 stars. It just wasn't it. It didn't give me any feelings. I wasn't very excited about this, and I felt like this book was written for the plot and not for the characters, which is not one of my personal preferences. And I couldn't relate to the character at all. I didn't like the love interest that was chosen in this book. I just don't like him. I am hoping, though, that in the second book, maybe the love interest changes, so that I might enjoy those more. So I'm putting a lot of hope in the second and third book. And I'm pretty sure I can do that because these books are very thin. Sticking with the theme of vampire books, we have The Serpent and the Wings of Night. This one was incredible. I could, however, not rate this a complete 5 stars. This is just a 4.75 because something was missing and I don't know what it was. Just some little part of me was like, you know what, this isn't a 5-star read. This is just a 4.75. Most of the things were there, like the angst, the romance, the powers, the vampires itself, like the magical contest. I've also heard a lot of people say that it's similar to ACOTAR, and I can definitely see all the similarities, but it's still very different in most ways. So, of course, we have all, like, the wings are there. You can see the similarities, but they're also just like, it's also just not. And I have to say, with the main character, I like her a lot more than I liked Feyre in the first book, which is saying a lot. So you should definitely pick this up if you enjoyed ACOTAR or if you're into like fantasy in general. This is really, really good, and it's also not too spicy. Like there is spice in this, I have to say that. There is spice here, but I'd say it's manageable. It's not like in your face hitting you and like bam, I'm here. It's good. It's good. I like that. So next up we have City of Fallen Angels by Cassandra Clare. I don't like this. I don't like this series. I can say it. This one is a hell of a lot better than the Infernal Devices series was, so I like these better by far. That's why this is a 3-star read for me, but I realized that I have actually read this a while ago when I was like in probably like middle school age. I never went to middle school because there is no middle school in Germany, but either way, it's not my cup of tea. I don't like Clary. I think she's annoying, honestly. It could also be that I'm not really used to like very, very teenage main characters anymore, and I barely read books that are also like set in the same world. But then again, Clary is probably the same age as Jude from The Cruel Prince, and Jude doesn't act like Clary does. So it isn't one of my favorites. And next up, we're moving on to a series. So we have Glint, Gleam, and Glow from the Play to Prisoner series. These are book 2, 3, and 4. And let me tell you, why like this? These are so heavy, but so stunningly beautiful. The only thing that bothers me is that 2 of them are shiny and 1 isn't. Actually, 3 of them are shiny because the first book is also very shiny, but I want to talk about what happens in the books and not what they look like. So rating-wise, I rated Glint a 5-star and the other 2 a 4.5-star book because I just loved the second book so much with like the plot twists and the things that were happening. I was so into these books, especially since I didn't like the first book as much, and then the rest of this series just delivered. So if you read the first book and you're like, not sure if I'm gonna like it, pick up the rest. Please, they are incredible and you won't regret it. Please be sure to not ignore the trigger warnings in here because there is some pretty messed up stuff in these books. I'm just gonna say that straight up. But with that, I think we're done with the fairy tales. Who said anything about fairy tales with the fantasy books? My like vocal something is broken. These are heavy. Alrighty, so next up we have this one. This is Sky in the Deep by Adrian Young. I wasn't sure where I was supposed to put this because this gives the vibes of a fantasy book, but there is no fantasy. So technically I would say this is like historic fiction, but I would actually like to put this into my fantasy. Like this is next to my fantasy books because this is next to Fable, which is also by Adrian Young, which is one of my favorite series. But this one wasn't it for me. I rated this a 3 stars. Just saying that. This is a Viking romance story. That's what I can tell you about it. It is set in the Viking days with like 2 different clans that fight each other, and then there's a 3rd clan, and then they have to like essentially team up to fight the bad guys. But there are a lot of things happening. This has a lot of like sibling relationships in there. I just wasn't really able to like get into the story really well, and I had a lot of struggles with the main character. I didn't like her as much. I didn't understand her. I couldn't relate to her. I think that's the best way to put it. I could not relate to her at all, and this is why I gave this a 3-star rating. So we're moving on to the only thriller that I read this month, or last month, or this month, last month, in April, which is Verity. Now there is a story to why I read Verity. I was not gonna read this book at all. I had it on my shelf and I was like, you know what? Maybe not. But then I was at a house party. Well, it was more like a garden party. But I made it a house party when I went inside and I grabbed a book off their bookshelf and I just read Verity because it was there. So I went ahead and I read 50% of the whole book, just to realize that it isn't as bad as I thought. It also isn't as good as I hoped it would be. So this is also just like a 3-star read for me. What bothered me in the end was that there wasn't a clear ending. Like, you don't know what happens, and you don't know who the actual bad guy is, to the point where you question yourself if you misjudge people. And I get that this is what this book was supposed to do to me, but I didn't like it. I don't like when people are doing this. Like, why would you? Why? Just tell me, please. This is why I don't read thrillers, because I want to know what happens in the end, and I don't want to be messed up after I read a book. And that's what this one did to me. But if that is what you like, then you're probably gonna enjoy Verity a lot. I'm not sure. I just know that I didn't really like it. So yeah, we're moving on. So we're moving on to a genre that I like to call supernatural romance. And no, this is not fantasy, because in fantasy, the hierarchy is like romance and then plotline is above that. And with this one, the romance is like more important than the plotline, and the fantasy aspect is just an extra. So this is basically like comfy fantasy. So the fantasy aspect is a given, and then it's just the romance that's important. Does that make sense? I'm not sure if that makes sense. Either way, we have A Witch's Guide to Fake Dating a Demon. This book was really, really good. I rated this one 4 stars. It was really enjoyable. It was really nice. I loved the main character. She is such a fun and quirky person, and I love that this is also about her, like, defining who she is and staying true to herself. So that's something that I really enjoyed. They fake date? Okay, swoon. A lot of things happen, and this turns into obviously a very cute romance that I was here for. I was here for every bit of this book, and I'm happy with it. And if you find it anywhere, you should pick up and read it, because it's incredible. Yeah, that's all I have to say about this. Next, we are now moving on to the romance books of this month, which are a lot. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 romance books, which is more than half of the books. What does that say about me? We're going to start with the romance book that I like the least. I think that's the way to go. We have Radiant Sin. Now, if you follow me on Instagram, I've already talked about this, and I asked you if I should DNF it, and you told me that I should just power through it because it was already halfway done, so that's what I did, and I didn't like it. I didn't like it. So for me, this was a 1.5-star read. It wasn't good. I didn't like it. I could have told you that before I picked up the book, because this is part of the, like, Modern Olympus series. I think that's what it's called. Dark Olympus, almost. Which is like Neon Gods. What are the other ones called? Neon Gods, Electric Idol, and Wicked Beauty. They are all like modern retellings of like the Greek couples, so Persephone and Hades. And this one is Cassandra and Apollo, which I thought maybe I would like this, because I believe, if I remember correctly, I enjoyed the second book a little. I didn't like the first one at all. I didn't like the third one, but I liked the second one a bit. And I thought maybe I would like this a bit more, because all of the other ones were just too much for me in the like dark romance department. That's just not my cup of tea. And I thought maybe this one would be okay. And then in the whole dark romance department, this was okay, but just the plot was so boring that I didn't care. I did not care for Cassandra or for Apollo. And that just made me want to DNF this so bad. Yeah, so I personally don't recommend this book. I don't recommend the series at all. I don't know why I have 4 books of the series if I don't like it. But that's just how I am, because I can never ever part with books, even though I don't like them. Then next up, we're moving on to The Upside of Falling. The Upside of Falling is a YA book, so there is no spice if that's what you want. This is good to read for like teenagers. It is also targeted towards teenagers. I realized that when I read it, it felt younger. The characters are a lot more naive. This is also a fake dating book, which was the reason why I got it, because I was like, oh my gosh, fake dating, yes. But then again, it really wasn't my thing. I think I've outgrown my high school romance phase. Then again, Better Than the Movies was such a good book. Maybe it was just this book. So I rated this a 3 stars, which means it was alright. It was okay. It wasn't anything extraordinary, but it was enjoyable. And that's basically all I can say about this. This is a fake dating book because she's getting bullied because she doesn't have a boyfriend, and then he's like, you know what, I'm gonna just jump in real fast. This is my chance. It's okay. These books are just okay. It is also a published Wattpad story, so I'm just gonna leave it at that. My nose is itching so bad. Where are we moving now? Okay, I know where we're going. We're doing the only book that is left that is a single one, which is Weather Girl by Rachel Lynn Solomon. Now, Weather Girl, in my opinion, was a pretty good book. This is a 3.5-star book for me. I enjoyed the fact that this was so targeted towards her mental health. So Ari is the main character. She is a weather girl, so she does the weather reports for the TV channel something. She and her co-worker, who is like a sports reporter, decide to set up their bosses who are divorced. And so this is just a classic setup story, like parent trapping them. And I think they even mentioned Parent Trap, which makes me happy because I like Parent Trap, you guys. I love it. This is then obviously like a romance between Russell, the sports guy, and Ari. And I like it a lot because it focuses a lot on like mental health, and it focuses a lot on like body image. And I liked those parts about it. And it was overall a very cute story, but it made me very anxious because the whole time I was nervous about how this would play out in the end, because I know that this, like the whole setup situation, it blows up in everybody's face in the end. And that's made me so anxious about this book. These are piled up here so high. Okay, why am I like this? Next up, we have a series that most of you probably know. We have the Twisted series by Anna. Let me do this right. Anna Huang? I think that's it. And I'm just gonna say that I enjoyed this series. I have some quarrels with it, and I have some things that I liked. So I'm just gonna go through this book by book and tell you what I liked and what I didn't like. We have Twisted Love, which for me is an okay book. This is a 3-star book for me. I enjoyed it. I would tell you all to read it if you are into like romance, but it's nothing extraordinary. It's nothing out of the ordinary. It's just a good book. It is a brother's best friend romance, but what I didn't like was that Ava was like, her brother was so protective over her, and everybody around her was so protective over her, and she couldn't do anything basically without everybody fussing over her, and I was always very confused as to why she would need basically a bodyguard in her life. What I did, however, like very much about this whole series were like the girls. The friendship between them was so great. The way they FaceTime each other when something happens, the way they're there for each other. That's what I liked about these books. Then we're moving on to the second book of the series, which is Twisted Games. I like this just simply because this gave me my Princess Diaries dreams, and I was happy with it. The whole time I was imagining them in like Genovia. I know the country is not called Genovia, but it's basically Genovia, where she is the queen, where Bridget is the queen, and this is of course a bodyguard princess romance, which I liked a lot more than the rest of the series. I just don't know why, but I enjoyed this. This is also the one that has the biggest age gap. I think it's like a 10-year age gap, so if that makes you uncomfortable, then this might not be for you. But I liked it, and I'm happy with it. Then we have Twisted Hate, which in my opinion was the worst book in the series. This is a 2.5-star read for me. I just didn't like, what are they called? Jules. Jules and Josh are just not for me. The miscommunication in this book was not good. Okay, so hear me out first. There is something that is called good miscommunication, where it's necessary, where like maybe one of the characters wants to protect the other, or maybe one of the characters is currently working on telling them, but they're just too scared, and there's a reason behind it, and you understand that reason. In this case, it was just bullshit. That's all I have to say. The whole problem here could have been avoided if they just talked. But they didn't. Instead, they do the things that they do. And I don't understand them. And then Josh does this horrible thing, and then Jules does horrible things, and Jules does not deserve Josh, in my opinion, because Josh is way too good for her. I'm just not happy with this book in general. I am not happy with it. And then we have the last one, which is Twisted Lies. This book was a 3.5 book for me. I liked it. I didn't think it was incredible, but I thought this was very enjoyable. I really enjoyed the whole thing. I just remembered that this is a stalker in this. So basically this is about Stella, and Stella is an influencer, and this is a romance between her and her, like, what's it called? Her landlord. This is a romance between her and her landlord, and they all know each other. Like, the boys are all connected, and the girls are all connected in some way. And he just has a lot of, how do I say this, baggage. This also feels a lot like a mafia romance story. And I think that's all I have to say. In general, all of these books are pretty spicy. Like, on my spice radar, I have like 0 spice, then I have like 1 pepper, 2 peppers, and 3 peppers, and this is definitely like in the 2 to 3 peppers range. So if that's making you uncomfortable, then don't pick these up. If that's what you want, then pick these up. My roommate's in the hallway. So next up, we're going to be talking about the sports romances that I read. And we have these two, which are the Beyond the Play series books. Is that how you say it? I'm not sure. We have First Down by Grace Raley. And this is a 3.5 star book for me. I enjoyed this. So this is a, obviously, college setting. I was going to say baseball. It's football. It's American football, which is also fake dating. It just makes me happy. But this is about Bex and what's his face? James. This is about Bex and James, and they decide to fake date because Bex has this horrible ex-boyfriend who's not leaving her alone, and he's also on the football team. And so James is like, you know what, this is my girlfriend, who you talking to? And they become friends, they help each other, she does the tutoring as... This is just... It does things to me, and it made me happy. And it's really good, it's really nice. It's a college setting, so that makes it a lot better than the high school setting. So, all in all, this is a solid book, and you should pick it up and read it. Then we have the second book, which is Breakaway. I just don't know what to say about this. This is incredible. This was a 4.5 star read for me. It was very, very good. I was really happy with this. I don't usually enjoy the trope, which is friends with benefits to like a little more maybe. And that's usually something that makes me uncomfortable, but with these two, it didn't make me uncomfortable. It made me happy. Because through all this time, they were so good with each other and they were so nice to each other. So this is about Penny and Cooper, and Penny is Cooper's coach's daughter. And Penny used to be a figure skater, and then Cooper is an ice hockey player. And these two are just so cute together. And then they teach little kids how to figure skate and play like ice hockey. And it's so sweet. It has a lot of good moments. With that, I'm gonna leave the sports romance books. I'm not gonna leave, well, you'll see. And we're gonna move on to the last few books, which are the Tessa Bailey books. I just now realized that I don't have my lights on. Let me fix that. Okay, now at least you have my lights for the last 2 minutes. It's nice, right? The lights are perfect. So we're gonna talk about my Tessa Bailey books that I read this month. It's just 3 of them. First one is Fixer Up. Now, I talked about this book in my previous video, so I'm not just going to talk about it that much, but generally this is also fake dating, which is incredible. Again, with this one, it made me really happy. This is also a 3.5 star read for me. It was really nice to see this book, develop the way that I wanted it to. it was good. This is a best friend's brother romance. No, brother's best friend. I always mess these up. I have little tags on like the app where I have all my books on my laptop. I have little tags for every book, and the brother's best friends and best friend's brother are easy to mix up. But this is a brother's best friend romance, and it's fake dating, and there is some miscommunication. I'm just gonna say it. In a lot of romance books, there is a certain level of miscommunication, and I can live with this level of miscommunication. This is the good kind. This is the kind where they try, and it just fails a little bit. And it makes you angry, but it doesn't make you as angry. That's what happens here. And then we have, in the same series, Love Her or Lose Her, which is, like, the girls are all, like, either friends or related again. And this is about Rosie and Dominic, who are married and who are trying to fix their marriage. So this is a second chance romance, which I rated a 4 stars because I liked it, but it wasn't as outstanding as the other one. It was still very good though, so if you're looking for something that's really sweet again, and that has like a lot of cute things, but a lot of miscommunication as well, this is it. So the miscommunication was what ruined this for me. And you know how I said earlier that there is good and bad miscommunication? This is the bad miscommunication, which made me deduct a star. Because otherwise this book would have been incredible, but because of the miscommunication, I just couldn't have it be as incredible as it was. Yeah. It's also getting extremely dark outside and it's starting to rain, so I'm kind of happy that I'm almost done with these. This is the last book, and it is Secretly Yours, also by Tessa Bailey, which is also a 4-star read. Now, this gave me warm and cozy vibes, and I don't know why. And the one thing that bothered me about this was, again, the miscommunication. This is a Napa wine country romance. I didn't know that that was a thing. The one thing that bothered me about this is the miscommunication and this. She's just writing like secret admirer letters to him, and that's just like another step of anxiety that I don't need. Like, why would you do that? Why would you give him another person to obsess over? Like, why? You're your own competition now. What are you doing? That's what I didn't like. But other than that, this is also a really cute book that you can pick up. This is also, in my opinion, just a little spicy, which is good. So I gave this one little pepper. That was it. Those were all of the books that I read in April. Tell me which ones you read. Tell me which ones you still want to read, what you thought of them, and we will see each other the next time. So goodbye. Okay, so for today's book recommendation, I am gonna go with the Plated Prisoners series. Please pick this up. I know I've told you a lot, but this is essentially this is just a great fantasy series about a girl who is made of gold and a king who has powers to turn everything into gold, with a lot of plot twists and secrets and things you don't expect. So pick this one up and you won't be disappointed. And with that, I'm just gonna say goodbye because it's getting really dark here. All right, see ya!